Hello, and welcome to Rita Unfiltered. One might be asking, how does one have so many stories? You know why? Because I'm outside living life, okay? Life be lifing, but I live that life, you understand? Anyway, so today we're going to talk about when I had gone on a trip to Nepal. It was really great. It was really, really amazing. Nepal is in Asia. It is north of India, and it's like if the Himalayas are here, Nepal is on this side, and then if you like go over the Himalayas, you'll hit Tibet, where, you know, these Chinese and the Tibetans are always fighting because these Chinese just want to take everything over. Kind of like Americans, you know, so it's like, who's the worst of them all? Anyways, what's kind of cool with Nepal is they have an interesting blend of looking of like people, right? So you definitely have like your Indians and stuff like that. And then you have like these people who kind of look like Asian-y, but they're all Nepalese. They've got like really like little people, right? So kind of like the pygmies of Congo, or like the pygmies of Madagascar, right? Where it's trippy. They are small people, but they're proportionate. But like if you look at little people, like, you know, dwarfism and stuff like that, they have like identifying features where you're like, okay, that's like a small person. In East Africa, I'm a giant, right? Like, I mean, like big bad faux femme. And so it's like trippy when you go to these countries where people are like really tiny, and you're just like, this must feel like if you're like 6'7", 6'8" all the time, you know what I mean? Anyway, so what's interesting with Nepal is really fun, like interesting place. Like I said, it's inside of the Himalayas. Their capital is Kathmandu. This is where if you're going to be going to do a lot of your trekking, like K2 or Mount Everest or some of the other smaller mountains that are within the Himalayan range, a lot of people first start out in Nepal in Kathmandu. Do you remember that movie, The Golden Child? Eddie Murphy, and they were there in Kathmandu. So it's like kind of still like that. It's got like the main city is kind of like divided into like two parts. So there's one part that it's very congested, like it is congested, and it's just like all these little tiny windy streets, but they get lit, they get turned, y'all. Like they like the bars and the clubs in the side are so many. Now I think they're probably so many because there's so many of like these munchy crunchy whites and like, you know, all these trekkers where it's like I've got to conquer Mount Everest and stuff like that. That's not what I was there for. I just needed to see the people eat the food and just really be all up in it. So anyways, these guys were easy people, they're nice people, they're chilled out people. What's interesting, their main staple is dal bhat, right? So for a lot of Indians, that's the same, right? So it's just rice and lentils. So anytime you meet any Nepalese person, if you just tell them like dal bhat, they'll be like, oh my God, that's my favorite, right? But they do not consider themselves Indians, they are Nepalese. And then on the other side, you know, they've just got really, really old buildings, very, very cultural and very into that. Now, what I really did like about the Nepalese is that they don't really have a culture like how in India, this real strict like caste system and like women are in the house and men work. There's a lot of equity between the men and women in their culture, which I really liked. They don't really have a big culture of like having house girls and house help, right? So here in Africa, everybody got a house help, okay? My house help got a house help. This was like a part of that I really, really liked about it. People were really cool. The food was really fun. So we ended up coming into the country and we ended up staying in this like super, super, super old hotel, which was just beautifully done, like beautiful. Because in these parts of the world, right? India, parts of Asia, Nepal, like, you know, some of that architecture, the carvings, and how they really create all of this is just unreal. But like, it was fucking beautiful, yo. Kathmandu is packed. You trying to go like 1 mile gonna take you like 45 minutes. It's just chaos. And what's beautiful about this hotel is that you were like in this little mini oasis inside the city, right? Like right when you entered in through their gates, it was just ponds and plants and trickling water and all of this beautiful architecture and the inlays and the setup. It was just gorgeous. So anyways, it was just really, really cool. So when we were there, one of the things that I definitely really wanted to do was go see Mount Everest, right? Like, I ain't nobody's hiker. I'll do a hike, okay? Especially if there's something at the end of it where they're like, you got to see this, then I'm gonna dig deep and I'm gonna like do it, right? So one of the things that we did was a private helicopter tour that took you all the way to base camp at Mount Everest. People who are really, really into hiking, right? Like, this is their thing. Himalayas, going up inside of there, being able to like hike it and trek it, the big 7, right? So it's like, you gotta do it if you're into it. I'm not doing all of that. Well, first off, it's cold. Altitude will fuck you up. You're gonna feel it. If you've never been in altitude, you don't understand how much this shit affects you. So one thing that's kind of cool is like here in Nairobi, for instance, Nairobi is a very high altitude city. So I'm used to being in high altitude because I live in Nairobi, right? So when we went to Nepal, it didn't really feel no different for me because it was just kind of like, okay, you just went from one high altitude to another. But there was definitely, I think my mom for like 1 or 2 days kind of had like a little bit of a headache, and then you'll just feel real thirsty and just like a little sluggish, but you'll get used to it, right? Basically what it is that me, my mom, and 2 of my uncles, because we were our own little small group, we were allowed to have our own helicopter, right? Which actually ended up making like a huge difference. So basically you go to the main airport in Kathmandu, and then they have all of the different guys who are doing like your flights going up and down to go see Mount Everest. Even though, like, let's say for instance you pay for it that day, if they tell you in the morning it's like the visibility and the ability to get up there, you can't go, it's like you're not going, right? Sometimes I find it very fucking annoying, especially with Americans, where it's like, well, I paid for it, so I should be able to see it. And it's like, it's nature, stupid. It's fucking nature. And if she don't want to comply with whatever the fuck you want to do, it's just not going to happen, so suck it up, right? So like I said, you go to Kathmandu airport, and then they take you into like a little room, and then they've got to weigh you and get your height and your weight, right? Because the helicopters have to have the weight distributed really properly when you're up there. And again, I did not know this, but like apparently like you can fly a helicopter, but then to be a high altitude helicopter pilot, I didn't realize the degree and amount of training that is required, right? So we get over there, and so then they put us in like this little glass ball, okay, y'all? It felt like we were in a glass ball with propellers on the top and a propeller in the back, and that was it. And then now you are flying through Kathmandu, and now you got to fly to the airport that services that whole area of base camp, right? It was just like wild because like we were probably in that helicopter for like 7-8 hours. So anyway, so we flew passing Kathmandu, and then you could really see where the first city center was, and then now just how it's all spread out inside of the valley of all of these mountains. So now you start seeing the houses that are going up the side of the mountains. And these are huge mountains. Like you can't get heights of mountains that high in like 1,000 years, right? Like this is the crashing of the plates to boom to start going up. And that takes thousands of years. So it just felt very incredible and very blessed. And then because of the way that the helicopter was, like you'd look out and you're like, fuck, we are really, really high, right? There were some passages where he would go through where you feel like you could just put your hand out and touch one of these mountains, And it was just like super green because now we were slowly going into their spring. So you could start seeing like the snow is starting to melt. And in terms of like visual beauty, it was just incredible. So now you get down to the base airport, and now everybody has to get out. There's like a whole village that's like grown up around that airport. There's no cars, there's no bikes, there's nothing up there, right? You have your plane to get in and out of, and if you are planning to come without being in a plane or in a helicopter, you walk in, okay? This is also where, again, if you're hiking Mount Everest, this is also where you guys all like congregate to like figure out, and then you'll see people walking. And again, not trying to sound like, ignorant as hell, but like, I'm a city mouse, right? Like I've been living in cities my whole life. So it was just really trippy to see villages that were just in the middle of these Himalayan mountains, and this is how people live, this is just how they are. So one thing that the Nepalese are really known for is their strength, right? In particular are the Sherpas. They're little tiny people, but these men are strong. So now when we're landing up there, all of the pilots and stuff, they're watching the weather. And what is trippy is that the higher and higher you go up, this weather, it's like schizophrenic, right? Like any of y'all been to Detroit, y'all know that schizophrenic garbage weather in Detroit. That's what this shit is. Like 1 second it will be beautiful, and then the next second you can't see nothing because all this fog rolls in. You can't see nothing in front of you. You can't even literally like see right in front of you because that's how much fog rolls in, right? And they have to be really careful with all of this because also like the wind and the movement of everything, it's like nuts. Our captain, he was a bit rough, but like now in hindsight I get why he was rough because again, afterwards I had to like kind of Google and research like how to be a high altitude pilot and all of that. At the time I was kind of like, you could be a little nicer, but he was like, bitch, I'm not here to be nice. I'm here to make sure y'all niggas don't die up on this mountain, okay? Which again, thank you, gentlemen. So anyways, we were all having tea, and then all of a sudden this man, he just sticks his head into the little cafe. He said, let's go right now. We're like, who are you talking to? You people, let's go. And I was like, okay. So we like grabbed all our shit. We like ran into the helicopter, and now we're like going up. We're going higher and higher up because now you're going to go and hit base camp, right? So this airport location is lower than base camp, and now you've got to continue to trek, right? So even now when we're inside of this helicopter, like I said, it's 4 of us plus the pilot. And the way that they do it is they land you a little bit below base camp. And this is where I guess the atmosphere is still able for you to be able to get out without having to have oxygen. He would land there, 2 of us would get out, and the other 2 who remained, now he took them up to where base camp was. And then now, because I guess the atmospheric change in that altitude, once you cleared that altitude, once you land at base camp, you only got like 5 minutes, right? Because that's how long you were allowed before the altitude sickness started to hit in. So when we started going up, the pilot already put on his oxygen mask and he already put it up, right? So then it was like pretty cool. We like got up there and it was just like amazing. Nigga, we made it. You know what I mean? Now, maybe we might have cheated, I don't know, but all I know is that I went up there, okay? It was amazing. I did some snow angels in the snow, right? Duh. And then literally homeboy was like, that 5 minutes hits and you feel it, y'all. All of a sudden, 1 second you're straight and then all of a sudden you feel like your head starts to start going a little bit. You start feeling this weird like pull inside. He was like, let's go, let's go, let's go. We jumped back into the helicopter. He takes us back down and then we switched. Now when we were on back down where we were allowed to walk around, we just like kind of walked around and like looked and it was just like really, really beautiful. I went in the river and I picked up this rock from there because I love picking up like old rocks because I just feel like, you know, it's got like antiquity in it. It was just cool. It was just really, really cool. So anyways, we were up there, we like chilled and then he came back down, picked us up. Now we went back to the airport. The minute we got down to the airport, that weather changed in like 2 seconds. They grounded all of the helicopters, grounded all the planes, and everybody just sat. So now, remember I told you back in Kathmandu, there was a couple of helicopters who were leaving that had the singles in there. So I felt bad for them because literally they were like, did you get to see it? Did you get to see it? I was like, yeah, we totally got to see it. It was clear. There was no fog. There was nothing that was obstructing us. And they were like, man, because none of them got to see it because when they went up, the fog and everything was just so bad. Anyways, so we get back to the airport and now we're just waiting for like almost like 2.5 hours, 3 hours. And then all of a sudden, that captain just put his head in. He was like, let's go right now. And it's like, what happened? This shit's cleared up enough that we're getting out of here. And literally it was weird. It was like God opened up some of this fog, moved it away like some curtains, and was like, okay, y'all got like 15 minutes to get back down here. Let's go. And we went back down and then the same route going back. I mean, this is like literally again, like God's work. It was one of the best things that we were able to do. It was a real lifetime thing. I remember one of my uncles was like, I'm not coming. I don't want to come. And it's like, you ain't got to come. Ain't nobody telling you to come. And then, you know, it was like begrudgingly. He was like, okay, I'm going to come. So it was just like funny. He enjoyed it. And then literally, I'm not lying to y'all, like maybe 2 months ago, he like texted me out of nowhere and he was like, you know what? You were right. I'm glad you made me go. And it's like, yeah, hello. My right rate, 82 to 89%. Anyways, it was incredible. The people were incredible. The temples were incredible. Even like the next day, like just even traveling around in Kathmandu. If it's something you've wanted to do, I think you should definitely do it. It wasn't cheap. It wasn't cheap. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was not cheap. I think it was like $1,300 per person. But I ain't never going back to Nepal. I'm good. I don't really need to go back and go see it. I'd rather drop $1,300 on that than $1,300 on like a Chanel bag. But I will take a Chanel bag, just FYI. If you're ever there, go give it a try. Go check it out. Get yourself all up inside their clubs, all those little roads and stuff like that. It's like fantastic. But for me, definitely the standout was this helicopter ride, just being in this nature, being up there so high. It was incredible. I don't have anything else to say. It was incredible.